them will die of cold over the winter because they can't afford to heat their homes. Insulation costs, if it's funded by the taxpayer, it costs people taxes, which then they can't afford to pay their bills to heat their homes. So it's a self-perpetuating problem, Simon.
We need to protect the poorest 5% who can't afford to heat their homes. They should be subsidised. They should be maybe burning more fossil fuels to keep their homes warm. That's an issue of poverty, not an issue of net zero.
Welcome back to State of the Nation with me, Alex Armstrong. Well, a new documentary featuring the monarch King Charles is set to call for an eco-revolution in a bid to save the planet. His Majesty has taken part in a new Amazon Prime documentary called Finding Harmony, using some of Charles's old speeches and environmental campaigns. Let's have a little look.
Our nature ourselves, we are a part of it, not apart from it.
He was there at the beginning, saying the truth, and ultimately the world could see that he was right.
I think we need to follow harmony if we're going to ensure that this planet can support so many. It's unlike it as anywhere else.
Well, do we need an eco-revolution? Or are families simply more concerned with the cost of heating their homes this winter? Well, joining me now is the Managing Director of Green Oil UK, Simon Nash. Simon, thank you very much for joining me on this New Year's Day. Simon, British people, the energy price cap is going up again. British people have suffered for many years now under massive inflation of our fuel bills, new taxes to pay for things like net zero. Surely a country that emits so little, we shouldn't be massively focused on this, considering China's built, what, 100 coal plants in 2024?
That's a good point. China has built lots of coal-fired power stations to manufacture our made-in-China goods, which we import into the UK and Europe. And I'd say a lot of people's energy bills are very high because of the energy waste and the lack of double glazing and insulation in British homes. And everyone would have lower bills if those eco-policies were brought in earlier. Wearing warm woolen jumpers at home. People aren't given this advice. People dress very lightly and have badly insulated homes and then complain. I think King Charles, I need to say Prince Charles there, King Charles's work, a lot of it is about ecology as well. And I don't think anyone would disagree that we want to keep the trees and the habitats for birds and the clean water that we can swim in and of course drink as well. And I think this is a really great move by King Charles to create harmony. We need harmony between humanity and nature. It's about harmony, not exploiting it. And, you know, if you are out of harmony, you might be obese from lack of exercise. That's a lack of harmony. If your children have asthma, that's a lack of harmony from too much air pollution. We can have a bit of air pollution, but not too much. It gives people asthma, causes other health problems as well. So I think it's a really great thing. We do need an eco-revolution for healthier people and a healthier planet, and also out of respect for the animals in this world as well. And I think a lot of these things, imagine, cycling, you're going to be healthier as a result. Too many cars on the roads, deaths on the roads, all these things, it's out of harmony, and to get towards that harmonious point would be a really, really beautiful thing.
Yeah, Simon, I don't disagree with you on ecology, by the way. I want to preserve our countryside. I think we should be building more trees, but the government is spending hundreds of millions of billions of taxpayer pounds on carbon capture plants, completely untested science. It's complete, pseudoscience as far as we're aware. It's spending, billions a year on net zero rather than a gradual transition, a sensible transition to green energy. This agenda is being forced onto the British people, who are also suffering greatly. Many of them will die of cold over the winter because they can't afford to heat their homes. Insulation costs, if it's funded by the taxpayer, it costs people taxes, which then they can't afford to pay their bills to heat their homes. So it's a self-perpetuating problem, Simon, and my argument always is this: if there's going to be a revolution or an industrial revolution to green, surely the consumer should lead it, as it has done throughout history. Why the need to make people suffer for something that hasn't been quite caught on by the British people yet?
I think the wealthier energy bill payers are happy to pay a little bit extra to insulate the homes of the poorest people. So you can't have it both ways. Like, we're paying to insulate people's homes. That's largely the poorest people on the majority of people's energy bills. I think that's actually a positive thing. It's the net zero cost is for lots of things, electrifying the car network, for wind turbines and these things as well. And actually the consumer has led it. From most things start with ethical consumers. And actually, I was actually at a net zero debate at the Battle of Ideas a couple of months ago, and one of the lead proponents of not going down the net zero route, he's like, well, I do actually have my contract with one of the big renewable energy suppliers. And actually the liberalisation under Tony Blair of kind of not giving British Gas a monopoly has led to most people now have renewable energy contracts, or not most, but a significant number. Ecotricity, Good Energy, Octopus Energy, these are the biggest players now. That is consumer-led, and the government goes, well, actually, they'll still vote for us if we keep going down the net zero route. And I think that's a really positive thing. The ban on plastic bags, that was led by people taking the road bag to the supermarkets. Eventually, you had the plastic bag tax. Now, having a plastic bag is almost as bad as dropping a cigarette in the street. So it is largely consumer-led. I do think most people believe in this, and they know that it's better for their health overall. And actually, we need to protect the poorest 5% who can't afford to heat their homes. They should be subsidised. They should be maybe burning more fossil fuels to keep their homes warm. That's an issue of poverty, not an issue of net zero.
Simon, as well as the issue of I think net zero being a government agenda that I think is making people poor, and that's making them suffer, which is making them reject, by the way, I believe massively rejects this green energy push. I think that's part of the problem here, where the people who want an eco revolution will fail because you're making people suffer. A big part of the problem is that governments also do very stupid things, like, for example, burning wood logging fires at home, and they do that for the sake of air pollution, but you could then heat people's homes very cheaply through a sustainable energy source, which is trees, things that grow for free. Also, we could grow more trees instead of building carbon capture plants. And the problem I've got with it, Simon, is that a lot of the time these policies don't make sense. They simply contradict the reality of the world. Let's build more trees if we want to carbon capture. No one's going to oppose that. Let's let people heat their homes with traditional ways of doing so, like burning wood in their fireplaces. Do you see why people get so fed up with it? Because the ideology goes so far. They want people to live in caves.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think it's an exaggeration to say they want people to live in caves. I think we want people to live in warm, healthy homes with as little pollution as possible. I personally disagree with this kind of anti-wood burning stove agenda. I think you're absolutely right. George Monbiot wrote in a book called Heat, and he said actually you could have, I think nearly 1 million homes running off wood based on the number of trees which are chopped down sustainably and replanted. I think wood burning is a sustainable method. Of course, you had the Drax power station, which was run on coal, and then it relied on imported Canadian wood from old factory forests, which then became wild forests. They were being chopped down to feed Drax, and that wasn't sustainable. But if we believe in climate change and that burning fossil fuels is unsustainable, and you can't, it's a finite resource. Okay. Wood burning is a contentious thing amongst environmentalists. Some people like it, some don't. But I think that is part of the solution, actually. I remember I met someone from the Green Party in Bulgaria, and he was sort of saying, the kind of almost the gypsy population in a different context of the UK, but they're almost living indigenously. They're burning things on fires to keep warm. He's, oh no, we want to become part of the national grid. But actually, no, I believe in energy independence on a small scale.
Well,
I think more
maybe that's, Simon, I'm sorry to cut you off because we're running out of time, but maybe that's an area we can both agree on. That's great. But it's always good to end it on that high note. Simon Nash, thank you very much for joining me this evening. Coming up, the Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, has been slammed